Good morning, everybody. Shaman Huck here for Shamanic Lodge. I'm happy to see that people are asking questions in the comment sections of the videos and giving me some things to talk about a little bit. So, I'm going to read you one from Lisa in the UK. Asked a really good question here. I got to look it up on my other phone here. So, and first off, I want to go ahead and explain that when I'm sharing information or talking about a particular event that happened, I'm going to do it in three different ways. One of them is I'm going to say that I know this for an absolute fact. This theory, this practice, ceremony, whatever, because I did it myself or I watched somebody else do it, so I know for a fact personally that it works. The next one is I'll tell you something and say, well, this came from a friend of mine that I unconditionally trust and know would tell me the absolute truth. The next way is theory. I say, well, I have a theory about this, you know. So, in answer to her question, I'm going to give you a theory and why I think that this theory is true. And hold on a second, and I will get right over to this. Oops, might even need these things for a moment. Excuse me while I put these on. I've got a YouTube subject matter for you. If our cells carry ancestral trauma memories, how do we know whether past life regression memories are ours or whether it's a wisp of our ancestors? It crossed my mind yesterday. This is a great question. And and I've done lots of past life regressions on myself and with other people. And, I'm somebody that's really picky about the truth. How do I know this is what I'm seeing? How do I know that this is the truth about this? So I like to investigate things historically. I like to go to places and see, like, oh, this location, yep, it looks just like, what I saw in my vision, even though I've never been there before. Like, okay, now I got verification on the physical plane. And not because I really doubt myself, it's because I wondered, about this because of this theory. So the theory actually started like, where do all the souls come from? You know, how come the population can keep growing and there's just more souls to occupy those bodies? And I started really looking at it. And then one of the magnificent things about nature is we see so many similarities in everything. So the veins in the leaves on the trees or any other plant are similar to the veins in the body, similar to the river networks, similar to the pathways of fungi. I mean, there's just so many things like, oh, we like this pattern of movement. And so everything else seems to imitate that. So, and then with DNA, you can have this race or family line, and then when it keeps going along, they have the same DNA. There's going to be little bits and pieces of it that's going to be a little bit different. But at the same time, we know that we can trace that person back to a certain lineage and so on through that DNA pathway. So, and then I look at cells and mitosis and saying like, okay, so this cell kind of grows to be this mature cell, and this mature cell starts to divide, becomes two cells. And now these two cells can go on to their path to become mature to a point where it's like, okay, time to divide. They become 4, become 16, and so on. And so I was thinking, well, there's so many things that happen throughout nature that are so similar to other processes. Why couldn't a spirit do the same thing? Because if we like to say that we like to spiritually grow, spiritually evolve, what do we evolve into? What do we grow into? And one of the first theories I thought of was like, well, maybe we grow into becoming gods ourselves. Maybe, where did God come? Well, he grew into that, I mean, if space is supposed to be infinite, and that's a concept that I still just can't get, it goes on and on forever. Kind of like when they thought that you sail off into the horizon, you fall off the edge, right? Oh no. So if it really is infinite, and there's so much out there, and this infinity is expanding into more infinity. I can't get my head around that one. So then, and let's say that there's life forms still expanding and growing. Where do the souls come from? And do we actually grow into gods? And do we evolve that part to where we just don't need to eat? We can be in the physical body. We can just leave. We can assemble a physical body. I don't know. But let's go even before that. Where does the consciousness come from? If cells can then go through that mitosis and become two complete cells, and they're going to go off on different paths, and they're going to separate, then why wouldn't the spirit be able to do the same thing? It grows to this point and it becomes two spirits. And I think this would help explain also the whole twin flame thing. So let's say now you have this little tribe way back in Neanderthal days, and Og the cave painter, is really good and has children, and they turn out to be good cave painters and so on. And then up a million years later, here we are, and then we have that same direct lineage as now interior designers and decorators of presidential palaces, castles, and so on. But we've seen this when we have one parent might be an engineer, the other parent might be a musician or artist, and then one of these kids is really attuned into music, the other one's really attuned into math, physics, and so on. It's like, oh, well, just like his dad, just like his mom. We're quick to go along with that. And there are people who come from long lines of inventors. And those kids are just starting to do things in the very beginning. I come from a long line of explorers and builders. And ever since a little kid, I was building bridges, tunnels, and doing all kinds of stuff. My brother and I, and other people in the neighborhood who were akin to musicians. We're all same age. I'm digging in dirt, building things, and they're banging on stuff, trying to make rhythms. So now we go into past life regressions. Let's say the people way back in Neanderthal times, and they're going through this stuff, and then somebody like Og the cave painter, his spirit gets to the point later on reincarnation just divides and becomes these two separate spirits, and it gets reincarnated as male, female, so on, as we do if we're going to learn about different parts of life. And then here is that beginning that double on down the line. And then somehow this path starts to cross this path again. And these two people, all right, they basically came from this long line way down here. They meet up, and they all of a sudden they're like so attracted to each other. And I think this would help explain, that soulmate, that twin flame thing. It's 200 generations back. It's not quite incest, but they feel so close to each other. And one could have gone way over here to the Asian, African, came back as a different color, different race, and this one done the same thing. And they meet each other, but they still feel that familiarity because they came from that same, let's call it seed spirit. And so now when you start to do past life regression, you're going back and going back and going back. And usually when people go back, they say, well, I'm going through this instance right now. I'm wondering if I've ever been through this before. So they're starting up here and they go back to there. And then it's like the subconscious search says, well, if we keep going down this line, we're not going to find anything in a similar experience. However, if we go here this way, along this other branch of the ancestral tree, this person way over here had a similar experience of what's going on at this time. So then we're going into our past life regression, but then that's possible then I think in my theory that you could just kind of like sidestep over a little bit. It's still kind of your experience because it came from your tree, your spiritual tree, and it can help you go with what you're going through at this time. Can we say it's exactly your past life experience? Maybe not. Is it a past life experience that is connected to you? Yes, we could say that. And so that's what I've wondered. And one of the reasons that I got into that part of the theory was I was taken myself back into past life experiences, which I could, and this is back in World War II, I could verify, in one case a ship and the other one a pilot crashing. And I was like, yeah, okay, this did happen. And I didn't know about this in my conscious life, before this regression or before researching. I'm like, wait a minute, that couldn't have happened in the same time. In other words, I was either the person on the ship or I was a person in the plane. Which one was I? Or yeah, actually, you could say, well, how do you know you're either one of them if you went back to that time period? No, good question too. So then I started looking at, well, then I've got this vision. It had the same energy signature and feeling and tone to it as it would for my past life regressions that I've been through in the past, other previous experiences. How do I know that both of these are true? It's researchable. Was it a psychic experience? You see what I'm saying? It's hard to really get that fine line definition of what's the truth. And so I looked at it. I'm like, okay, well then maybe one of them was this. One of them was one of them was me. The other one was over here, part of that line that was connected. And so we think about that. It could be possible if that one becomes 2, 4, 16, all the way up, finally into the same plane of your time constant in the incarnation that you're existing in. Now, it's possible to be in a lot of have a lot of people that you're related to through that spiritual chain living on the planet at the same time you are. Right? And very few people, I think, are one of those at that time. Let's say you got 10,000 of your cousins living at the same time, and you're doing something with them. Now, of course, in a world of a few billion, you're not going to bump into them, not likely, right? But then if one of them does that split, after they die, or have that big bang moment of enlightenment, that's going to go through everybody on that plane, I would think. And then everybody just gets that bang. And then, of course, that can just start this chain reaction happening. And then they could all start to meet and get pulled to one direction and so on. Because I've been a part of experiences similar to that. So how do we actually know for an absolute fact? Sorry, Lisa, I couldn't give you an absolute definite answer on that. All I can think that we could be experiencing something from our lineage. And even with the two experiences that I talked about with myself, I'd have to also question, were those recounts of the events, were they actually mine from my direct lineage of my life, or did I just go down just one level, because this is happening, like I said, in World War II, and I'm born in 1958. Did I just go one level down to two people living at that same time, in that time frame, that they died just before I was born? Okay, so I hope that helped a little bit. And any comments are on that. And by the way, I've given this example out on lectures and workshops before, and then I get these answers back. Well, my spirit guide said, and I channeled this, and that's all nice and cute, unless you have something to kind of back up of why you have that theory and answer. Please hold it until you do. That's the nice way of saying it, right? Because I'm always interested in other theories and where you got the foundation from that theory from. Shamanism and spiritual growth is this constant exploration process, and as long as I've been doing this, I still get surprised. I'm happy I say I can still learn things, and I absolutely appreciate all the contributions I get in the comment sections and so on. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks again, Lisa, for the question. I'll catch you guys later.